Welcome to Hockey Wiz Talks podcast. Today I'll be talking about potential trade targets for the Colorado Avalanche. In this podcast, I talk about what the Colorado Avalanche need to improve upon and who they should target for the trade deadline. Heading into this season, the Colorado Avalanche were expected to be the favorites to win the Central Division and even perhaps win the President's Trophy with the team they had assembled. Colorado knew they had to rely heavily on their core players, but they would also need to get contribution from their depth players and their defense. If there was going to be an issue for the Avalanche this year, it would be surrounding their goaltending, because you never know if Georgiev's season last year was a one-year wonder. A healthy Colorado team would be very difficult to compete against in the Central Division, but should a couple key players get hurt during the season, Colorado might struggle to win the division. Thanks to the MVP level play of Nathan MacKinnon, who is tied for the league lead in points with 72, Mikko Rantanen, who is not too far behind with 58 points, and Cale Makar, who is tied for the league lead in points for a defenseman with 52, the Colorado Avalanche are currently sitting in second place in the Central Division and third place in the Western Conference, with a 29-13-3 record, having scored 170 goals for, which is best in the NHL, and having yielded 141 goals against, which is 19th in the NHL. Although Georgiev has picked up the wins this season, his numbers are not as spectacular as last season. He has a 2.92 GAA and a .897 save percentage with just 2 shutouts this year. The off-season signings of Miles Wood and Thomas Tatar have had minimal impact for the team, and they have also been hampered by injuries to key players. And now a word from our sponsor. Check out my scouting blog at hockeywiz777scouting.com. Listen to my scouting blog podcast on podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/hockeywiz777scouting. With Valerie Nishushkin in Player Assistance Program and Arturi Lehkonen and Gabriel Landeskog on LTIR, the Avalanche will have to go out and add 2 top 6 forwards to improve their secondary scoring. Adding secondary scoring will take pressure off MacKinnon and Rantanen so they don't have to put up multi-point games every night down the stretch, and preserve their energy and effort for the playoffs. With Pavel Francouz on long-term IR, the Avalanche have to rely on young goaltenders Jussi Anonen and Ivan Provostov to back up Alexander Georgiev, so the Avalanche will have to go out and acquire a veteran backup for the playoff run. With the injuries up front for the Avalanche might want to go out and add more depth scoring to have around come playoff time. Vladimir Tarasenko is the player the Colorado Avalanche need to target for the trade deadline, because he is being misused by the Ottawa Senators this season, who should be sellers again come the trade deadline. Tarasenko has a Stanley Cup ring under his belt, and he has been a real productive player in the playoffs. If the Avalanche can add a player like Tarasenko onto the second line, it would give them a severe advantage in the Western Conference. Sean Monahan and Joel Armia are 2 players the Colorado Avalanche could target from the Montreal Canadiens, as they look to get something back for their players that might not be on the team next season. Sean Monahan has enjoyed a career resurrection in Montreal, and he would fit well as either the second or third line center. Joel Armia has playoff experience, and I think he would help out the penalty kill. Cam Atkinson and Ryan Poehling are 2 players the Avalanche could target from the Philadelphia Flyers, as they look to trade away some of their veteran players in order to add some young players to their already deadly young core. In the case of Atkinson, he has made it clear he wants to play for a Stanley Cup contender, and Colorado is as close as you get to one. Ryan Poehling fits the bill as a depth forward. The Arizona Coyotes have seriously misused Jason Zucker and has found himself playing on the 4th line most of the season. A change of scenery would do wonders for him, and it just so happens the Colorado Avalanche have a need for a winger such as Jason Zucker, a player with playoff experience and has a bit of sandpaper when needed. James Reimer is the perfect veteran backup to have around on the team. He has experience being a part-time starter, so you can feel comfortable resting Georgiev in order to keep him fresh for the playoffs. Check out my hockey blog at hockeywiztalkshockey.blogspot.com. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at hockeywiz777. This is the projected lineup with Vladimir Tarasenko, Jason Zucker, and James Reimer. The first line is Nathan MacKinnon centering Jonathan Drouin and Mikko Rantanen. The second line is Ross Colton centering Jason Zucker and Vladimir Tarasenko. Third line is Ryan Johansson centering Miles Wood and Logan O'Connor. Fourth line is Frederick Olofsson centering Andrew Cogliano and Joel Kiviranta. First D pair is Devon Taves and Cale Makar. Second D pair is Bowen Byram and Josh Manson. Third D pair is Jack Johnson and Sam Girard. Goaltenders are Alexander Georgiev and James Reimer. This is the projected lineup with Cam Atkinson and Ryan Poehling. The first line is Nathan MacKinnon centering Jonathan Drouin and Cam Atkinson. Second line is Ryan Johansson centering Ross Colton and Mikko Rantanen. Third line is Ryan Poehling centering Miles Wood and Logan O'Connor. And the fourth line remains the same. The defense and goaltending remains the same as in the first lineup. This is the projected lineup with Sean Monahan and Joel Armia. The first line is the same as in the first lineup. The second line is Sean Monahan centering Ross Colton and Logan O'Connor. The third line is Ryan Johansson centering Andrew Cogliano and Joel Armia. The fourth line is Frederick Olofsson centering Miles Wood and Joel Kiviranta. The defense and goaltending remains the same as in the previous two lineups. Listen to Hockey Wiz Talks podcast on Podbean and Spotify. Check out my travel channel at youtube.com/HockeyWizTravels. If the Colorado Avalanche are able to add some depth pieces at the trade deadline, it would allow them to make another deep playoff run. In my next podcast, I'll be talking about potential trade targets for the Winnipeg Jets.